Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the pleasure and honor of having Brooke Lively, who is the newest author of one of her many, many books. Welcome to the show, Brooke.
Thanks, Ken. I'm happy to be back.
Okay, for those that don't know Brooke, she's been on the show before, and just give a little breakdown of what you do, because what she does for lawyers is really a good thing. I think a very good thing. She helps a lot of our Pilma members, and they speak highly of you. So,
well, thanks. I do a couple of things. Primarily, I own a fractional CFO company for law firms. And what this means is I help lawyers make financial decisions based on data. Basically, I help lawyers run a more profitable law firm. And I love doing this because, you know, most lawyers didn't go to law school to run a business. Y'all went to law school to practice law. And a lot of attorneys don't feel very confident in that area. And, you know, Ken, most of the attorneys you're working with are really entrepreneurial, and they're trying to grow their firms. And sometimes they just don't know exactly how to go about it. They've kind of hit a ceiling and just don't quite know how to get to that next level. And those are the people we love working with. We are very data-driven. And we started looking at our clients. We looked at the ones that were doing well and the ones that were really kind of kicking tushy. And being data-driven, we dug down and we noticed that the ones that were really excelling were the ones that were executing. And so we got curious about that. And we discovered that the ones that were executing were running on something like EOS or scaling up. And I know that you've talked about scaling up in the past. And so I finally became an EOS coach because our clients were having a hard time finding good EOS implementers. So I just went out and became one myself.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to find them that really work with law. That, you know, I think you can do it without having the experience of working with lawyers, but I think it's a lot easier if you kind of have worked with them, you know, or been one or whatever. I just think it's a lot easier. You know, when I was doing scaling up coaching, which I'm not anymore, and I'm not doing any more consulting, it's time to hang up those spurs and just, you know, kind of slow down a little bit. And I'll just turn it over, the reins over to people like you that are young and energetic. You know? But no, this new book, Exit on Top. So if you haven't got it, you need to buy it. It's on Amazon. Sell your law firm to the right person at the right time for the right price. You know, the reason I like this, people say, well, I'm not interested in selling my law firm. It doesn't matter. Every business, it's like working a PI case. You need to prepare it like you're going to trial on every case if you really want to get the best results. Same thing for a lawyer. You need to prepare your business and grow it like you're going to sell it. Because really, wise man told me, he said, every business you get into, your end game should be to get it to a position where you can sell it.
Mm-hmm.
You might not sell it, but if you get it to that position, then what happens is, and we've had this happen, and then I'll shut up and let you talk, is that when you get it there, then sometimes you don't want to sell it because it's running itself almost. I mean, instead of spending 80 hours, you're spending maybe 10 or 20 hours.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
Oh, you're totally right. So there are two things about it. The first is it takes 3 to 5 years to get a firm ready to sell, because you've got to have the clean financials. You've got to show the profitability for at least 3 years to get the valuation you want. So it's going to take, to get that history, 3 to 5 years. So you always have to start long before you want to sell. Second thing is exactly what you were talking about. A firm that is an attractive acquisition is a joy to own because it throws off a lot of cash. You have happy employees and happy clients, and it doesn't take a lot of effort from the owner. And, you know, the introduction to my book talks about my father and my brother and the TV show Love It or List It. And have you ever seen that TV show?
Oh,
Ken?
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You go in, a couple has a house, they have a budget, they put the budget towards renovating the house, and then they also go out and look for a new house. And after the house they own is renovated, they decide, do they want to love the house they own, or do they want to list it and buy the new house? You can absolutely do that with your law firm.
Yeah.
Do the renovations, get the work done, and then make the decision. Make the decision from a place of strength. Make the decision from a place where you've got a great firm that's paying you a lot of money that, as you said, you're not working 80 hours a week in.
Yeah, because you got systems, you got processes, you got good people that can run it. You can look at your reports, you can manage it almost not 100%, but 90% from reports. And you get down where you're just managing managers, and that doesn't take but a day a week, really, if you think about it. It really don't. It really don't. I mean, but listen, 98% of lawyers are not there yet. I do know some lawyers that are there, though.
Absolutely.
I mean, I do. I know some lawyers that you're thinking, you see them everywhere on all these seminars and things, and they're just networking, they're just having a good time. And we got people in our masterminds. I mean, I got a guy that takes 3 months off every summer and takes his family somewhere. I mean, I think he went to Thailand last year. I mean, and you think he's going to France this year. And how can he do that? He set up a good law firm that he could sell for a lot of money right now, but it runs while he's gone for 3 months.
Well, and Ken, everybody wants something different from their firm.
That's
success,
true.
Everyone defines success differently. I have some clients that define success as being able to cherry pick the cases they want to try, not being obligated to take on clients,
Right.
but being able to cherry pick and not having to deal with any of the back office stuff.
Yeah.
I have other clients that are like, I love marketing. That's all I want to do all day. I want to do marketing stuff. Don't want to be involved in practicing law. Don't want to be involved in anything financial. Okay, great. We can help you build that firm. And then there are people that you're talking about that say, I want to be able to drop out for 3 months and have the firm keep going.
Yeah.
And
there's some lawyers that just want to try cases. Like you said, they want to go try cases and let somebody else worry about it. They want to be a tactician, and that's okay.
It's great because it's about what you want as the owner of the firm, because we want to build what's right for you. We want to build what's going to make you happy. We want to build what's right for your lifestyle and your personality.
You know what my definition of success is now? It's different than it was 20 years ago, but doing what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it with. To me, that basically it's just complete freedom to do what you want to do and not have to be, like you were saying, not have to take clients you don't want to take, don't have to deal with people I don't have to deal with. I can fire clients. I think that's the way but 20, 30 years ago, it was all about how much money I was making.
Mm-hmm.
Money don't buy you happiness. It buys you freedom, though, where you can be happy. But
yes, and we talk about the EOS life a lot.
Tell everybody what EO is, in case most of them know, but probably some of them don't. So explain that.
Okay, EOS is the Entrepreneur's Operating System. It was cobbled together by a guy named Gino Wickman. He first published it in the book Traction. It is a set of principles, nothing new, and it gives you a framework of how to get 3 things in your business: vision, traction, and healthy. And when we talk about the EOS life, we talk about, Ken, exactly what you're saying. It's doing work you love with people you love and making the money that you want and need to make and having time to satisfy your passions. It's all of those things. And, I hate to see people sacrificing themselves on the altar of the almighty dollar.
It's 6 things. Isn't EOS set up like 6 things, though? I remember reading in your book, and I read Gino's book, like a pie chart. What are those 6 things? Do you remember?
So the first one is vision. So where are you going? We want everybody on the same page, not just you knowing where we're going, but your whole team. The second is people. Do we have the right people in the right seats on the bus? The next one is data. And of course, I love this, which is why on my last book, Gino Wickman wrote the quote that my book was one of the best for data that was out there. Does everybody have a number? What are we measuring? What is measured is managed. You hear that all the time. When you have strengthened those three components, all of a sudden, everything that's going on in your business becomes very clear. And then the next one is issues. When everything's clear, you can see the problems. And so you start knocking down those issues one at a time and solving them forever. There's nothing worse than like solving a problem only to have it pop up again. We didn't solve it. We just put a Band-Aid on it, right? But you also get to see the issues that are good, those things that you can do to those opportunities that you can take to improve your firm. Procedures is the next one. Like, how can we actually document what we do in the firm so that it's done the same time, the same way every time by everybody? And then the last one is traction. How do we actually get everybody rowing together? How do we bring that vision down to the ground? Because vision without traction is just hallucination.
And I think the procedures, I think you got to have that skill. I mean, I call that part of scalability. I mean, and I've been to some firms in my whole life where every lawyer was kind of doing their own little mini law firm, and they were doing it their own way, and their staff did it their own way. And then they were wondering why they could not grow anymore, or how couldn't they put offices in other places, or why am I losing lawyers, I was really big on that when I was growing my law firm, and not because I knew it, but I had a former IBM manager, and they teach their people well, right?
Yeah.
And it's been 25 years ago. He really, I'll never forget. There's two things he told me that I'll never forget, but one of them was that when somebody is not doing, if they're failing at their job or whatever, it's 95% of the time it's your fault. You didn't train them properly, or you don't have the right process in form. He said, you need to go back. Don't blame them, blame yourself first, and go back and look at it. That stuck with me for 30 years now, 40 years.
You know what the other problem is? You might have hired them and put them in the wrong position.
That's true.
They're not qualified for it. You set them up for failure in the hire.
Yeah. I remember reading that book, Good to Great, in the late 90s. In the late 90s, and it's still, I think, a bestseller, isn't it? I mean, they got another one out now, I saw. But yeah, it's like what you were saying earlier, the right person in the right seat on the right bus. And it's like taking somebody that's like killing it as a case manager and then putting her in as a manager, and they're terrible. And I've had that happen to me.
Yeah, you know what that's called? It's called the Peter Principle.
Yeah, it's called stupid.
It is also called stupid, but it's called the Peter Principle, and it's called promoting someone to the point of their incompetency.
Yeah. I plead guilty. I did it one time and one time only, and I learned my lesson.
Oh, you're a fast learner, Ken. Most people don't learn that fast.
Oh, no, I learned my lesson. Never again. A lot of testing now before, they have to take a management test and all this stuff.
That
Because
helps.
somebody can be good at one thing and terrible at another. See, I don't think I'm a great manager. I think I'm a great leader. I think I'm a great visionary. My problem is I want everybody to like me. And when you cannot be that type, it's hard to be a good, I think, manager when you want everybody to love you and like you. You can't. They got to respect you, and they can like you, but they got to respect you. Don't you think?
Yeah, and I think that and we're totally veering off to another topic, but that's okay, because this is so important. I think that one of the biggest problems we see, and let me say that as a CFO, we look at every part of a law firm that touches the money.
Right.
And Ken, I will give you a big, huge prize if you can tell me any part of the law firm that does not touch the money, because I haven't found any part yet.
Well, that's true.
So we look at everything. And one of the biggest things we have noticed is that most attorneys aren't great at managing people. That's not a skill set that's taught in law school. It's not necessarily a skill set that you all have naturally. And especially you litigators out there, sometimes you kind of treat your employees like witnesses.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel very good.
No, no.
But you're trying to get to the answer that you need and you're moving along. And people are a big issue. Getting those right people in the right seats and creating a culture in your firm, a deliberate culture that's a positive one, really makes a huge difference in your firm.
It's all important, but I'm telling you, really highly successful law firm owner I've ever seen, they got really good people. I mean, I'm not saying there's other things not important, but I'm saying, like, I think that's the key. I mean, Vern Harnish, who I study a lot, he says no company was ever built on the backs of average employees. And I think that's so true. I think that's so true.
It is absolutely true. You've got to have the right people. And so that comes down to, let's go back to Jim Collins, getting the right people on the bus. You have to know your vision. This is where we're going, and this is who we are. These are our core values, and we live them and we talk about them, and it's part of our daily discussion, and we exhibit them all the time. And when we interview people, like, we talk about our core values. So for instance, when we interview people for CAFCAP, first interview, they get the core values speech. And it basically says, like, one of our people gets on the phone and says, these are our core values. And they go through them and say, if these do not resonate with you, if you don't love these, you do not belong at this company, because we hire, fire, promote, and reward based on these. Recognize and reward. Sorry, I forgot recognize. We hire, fire, promote, recognize, and reward based on these. And if you don't love these core values, if they don't resonate with you, if you don't identify with these, you will be miserable here and you need to drop out of the interview process now.
I think that's very smart. I like that. I'm going to start doing that, because we do it, but not at the first deal. It's like the second deal. But I like that. I think, because you're right. I mean, they could be the best in the world, but if they don't have your core values, you're going to be miserable, and they are too.
Well, they're actually going to turn into, so let's be real, Ken, you and I are kind of consultants, right? And consultants love a good 2x2 grid. So let's think about a grid where we have core values on the vertical.
Yeah.
And we have skill set on the horizontal. So we want someone who is a high core value match and a high skill set match.
Which will be A players if they're at the top of each.
Top of each. A players, we also call them a star, right? Okay. All right. So they're up here. Low core value match, low skill set. Pretty easy to identify.
Yeah, they're gone.
Right? What do we call those?
I'll call them F players.
They're the opposite of a star. So they're star spelled backwards. They're rats.
Okay, I love it.
We got to get the rats off the show. And that's pretty easy to do. We can identify them. We throw them overboard. Not a big deal. High core value match, low skill set. We call them puppies. They're cute. They're adorable. They make everybody feel good. We absolutely love them. And they piddle all over the floor.
Yeah.
But if we train them, if we work with them, their skill set will move to the right, and we will make star players out of them. The question is, do we, and this comes back to what you said earlier, do we have time to train them? Do we have enough time, energy, and resources to pour into them to do that? And if we don't, we are doing them a disservice by keeping them.
Yeah. Because
they could be somewhere else actually learning.
Yeah, I advocate now, and I really try to get law firms to do it, to start like a university, and like at least a lot more onboarding, but also, like, I got some firms that do every month or at least once a month. I got some do it twice a month. They'll bring in lunch, and they'll do a lunch and learn, and they'll talk about one area, like maybe underinsured, or maybe about property damage, or maybe about medical records, or maybe about this, so that everybody could, and they record it, then they can use it when new people come in. I think it's, can't do it all at one time, but you can do it in steps. But yeah. What was the fourth one?
Let's talk about that fourth quadrant. Those are the low core value match, high skill set.
Yeah.
And these are the people that
Yeah.
crank out a ton of work,
And
and they know they're valuable, and they become kind of high maintenance, right, Ken?
Yeah, I can't have those people in my place.
They're like, I don't like doing this part of my job. And you're like, okay, all right. You don't have to do that. I'll hire somebody else to do that one part of your job. And then they say, I don't want to come into the office. Okay, fine. Come into the office 2 days a week. You can stay home the other 3. And then they've got kind of a bad attitude. So you start like walling them off from the rest of your team so that they don't infect everybody else.
Yeah.
And they're basically holding you hostage, right? So what do we call people who take hostages?
Kidnappers.
Terrorists.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
Because they are terrorizing you and the rest of your team. The biggest problem with them is with your stars. Because here are your stars going, I'm doing 100% of my job. I'm not grinching about it. I'm coming into the office 5 days a week, like you asked. I'm doing everything. I'm doing it with a great attitude. And this person is getting all the special attention. And employees are just like toddlers, Ken. I'm sorry to say it, but for a toddler, all attention is good attention.
Yeah.
They don't care if it's for a good reason or a bad reason. Attention is attention.
Yep.
Stars see it the same way.
Affirmation.
Yep. So your stars are going to leave. And that's where it's really going to cost you money.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of the terrorists, and you got to get rid of them fast. They are more damaging to your firm than the rats are.
Well, yes, when you started saying it, I said they won't work for me, because I've seen that. I don't care who they were. I mean, I fired the president-elect of the state AAJ for, and hey, listen, very good lawyer, but like you said, no.
Not the core value match. And it's, so incredibly important. And what is really fascinating is that when you fire that person,
everybody loves it. Oh, I'm so glad you did that.
They are so grateful.
Yes.
They say thank you.
Yep.
They ask what took you so long.
Yep.
And the reason you didn't fire them for so long is because you were afraid that you weren't going to be able to get the work done without them. But actually, they leave and productivity goes up with less people.
I always tell all my people, maybe it's the wrong way to do it, but I tell them, no one's irreplaceable. Would it be tough? Yes, but no one's irreplaceable, including me. And I proved it when I sold my law firm I left, and they're still kicking on at 15 years later. But like you were saying about holding people hostage, that's why I think having processes and procedures is so important that, and there's some people they really kick at, and they're the ones that want to kind of protect their little domain so that you've got to be dependent on them. They're either that or they're scared you get ready to fire them. I find that's I don't know if you've seen that as a big issue when you go into law firms or whatever, but people kind of resist this because what's going on is you get ready to fire us or whatever, but it's not. I tell them, but yeah, I think that's the big deal. I think the processes, procedures the systems can help you to where you're not held hostage by these people so that you can fire them. But that's the big deal. People are afraid that their business is going to go in the hole if they fire them, Who am I going to get replaced? Nobody knows how to do this except them.
Yes, I do think that in a lot of cases, and you kind of alluded to this, the people who are trying to be really protective, they're probably not a core value match for your firm.
That's right. You're exactly right.
It's
because
not a bad way to weed them out.
I call them diminishers, right? I read some book. I can't remember what it was. You probably know. I think it was can't remember the woman's name, but anyway, diminishers. You either coach people up or you kind of diminish. You diminisher, or I can't remember the whole deal now. I actually wrote an article on it. But the deal is, diminishers want to hog everything. They don't want to teach other people. They want to bring them up. But the A guy, I call them A players, but there's some other word for it. But they ready, willing, able to share. They want to coach people up. They're very secure. They're not paranoid, worried about, they're going to go ahead of me or things. Are they going to take my job?
Well, and Ken, it's also a matter of the way they live their life. What kind of outlook do they have? Are they living in a world of abundance, or are they living in a world of lack where there's not enough?
Yeah.
If you're living in a world of abundance, there is enough for you, and you know that if you teach others, there will also be enough for them.
Yeah.
If you're living in a world of lack where there's not enough, you got to hold it all for yourself, because it's a very finite pie and you've got to get as much of the pie as you can. And it's that abundance mindset that the really successful entrepreneurs have. And the more we can instill that in our teams, the better our firms will do.
Yeah. I mean, well, of course, I think I got the abundance because my gosh, I got this podcast and I'm bringing people on that even compete with me and don't bother me. I mean,
That's right.
I mean, it really doesn't. I mean, listen, it's just like when I practice law. I mean, you can be the best in the world, but you still might not be a good fit for somebody. You can't be all things to all people, and everybody's not going to hire just one person.
Yeah.
There's going to be different things, even though, hey, listen, you might be smarter and do a better job than I do, but they might just like the way that they might want somebody that's, more of a redneck. I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Absolutely. So when I'm talking to people about our CFO services, I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me.
Yeah.
And there are times when I won't make an offer because I realize that their outlook, the way they work, the way their firm is set up, we're not going to be effective with them.
Yeah. They're going to fight you on everything. They're not going to listen to you.
Well, and we're not going to be effective, and everyone's going to be frustrated. We're going to be frustrated. They're going to be frustrated. Let's not set ourselves up for failure. I also realize that we're not right for everybody. Even if I thought they were awesome and would love to work with them, they may not have thought we were awesome. And that's okay too. And, when people say we've made another decision, I write a truly sincere email back that I'm so glad they found the right person, because I want them to find the right person.
Yeah.
This is personal. Ken, what you and I do is personal. We talk to people and we kind of crawl inside their heads, and we want to talk about their fears and their money and the things that are going on in their firm, the things that they're not going to tell a stranger on the street, or maybe they'll tell a stranger on the street, but they wouldn't tell their friends. There needs to be that camaraderie, that connection. And I want people to find it, whether it's with me and my team or with somebody else. I don't care where they find it. I just care that they find it.
And here's the deal too. I want to talk about the CEOs, because I think there's a lot of our law firm, at least in Pillman, that are really latching on to the EOS. I know they will be more successful with it if they get an implementer. Some of them are trying to do it on their own, Brooke, and only probably 10% of them are going to be successful, because it's just like me trying to work out without a trainer. Listen, I know exactly what to do. I know to breathe out. I know exactly. I've done the routine for 7 years. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I still pay the guy. You know why? Because when I'm paying him, I got to show up, because I'm not going to waste my money and not show up. It's accountability. So, I think that's the biggest deal. And then having somebody that knows it inside out in case you get it, maybe you're interpreting the book or the workbook a little different, or maybe you got a little snag here or there. So, I would encourage people that if you're trying to do EOS on yourself, give Brooke a call, because listen, at least talk to her. Because I don't even know what you charge or anything, but the deal is, I just know that when you got a coach or you got somebody, I think EOS calls them implementers, but I think they're coaches. I'll just be honest with you. I just think Gino tried to come up with new words for everything, because there's this thing about if you come up with one word, then you own it, and I understand.
Yeah, he's big on IP.
Yeah. But that's what I think. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you through personal experience. So we run on EOS. We have for not quite 10 years. We self-implemented. And for the first 6 months, it made a big difference. And then we kind of plateaued. And then we had some problems, and EOS wasn't fixing it. And I had met Gino through EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. So I sent him this email that was 42,000 pages long, right? So, and I just poured out my heart and I sent it to him, and he wrote back, he was like, okay, well, it would take me an entire day just to get to the bottom of this email. And I'm like, game on, Gino, how much? He's like, yeah, nice try. Answer these questions and I'll send you to the right implementer. And he did. And, I got on the phone with the implementer. I'm like, we self-implement. We don't need you. Oh my Lord, I was wrong. Yeah. It was such a difference. And yeah, I had seen that little boost in the beginning, but as much as we had all read the book, as many videos as we had watched, as much as we had been on the website, we couldn't understand the subtlety and the ins and outs. We weren't using a quarter of it. And so when we got that implementer, we were like, oh, wow. And you know what's so funny? I'm an implementer. I'm still paying that other implementer to do it for CapCap. I love him. I'm not letting go of him. He keeps trying to say, y'all have graduated. And we're like, no.
Sometimes you can't, when you're in it, you can't see it, right? I believe that. I believe that. I got mentors, and sometimes I'll go to them, and then they'll tell me, and I say, well, it was right there in front of me. Yeah. Sometimes you can't see it because, you're in it. You can't see the forest for the trees, right?
You're in the box.
Yeah.
And the directions are written on the outside of the box.
I like that. I like that analogy. Well, listen, got to cut it out. We got to cut off because we've been about 40 minutes. So if somebody wants to have a discussion about this, and by the way, buy the book, Exit on Top. Brooke Lively.
Ken, can I tell you something really cool?
Yeah.
You can get an estimate of the value of your firm if you go to exitontopbook.com.
Right.
Yeah. Because there's a quiz that you take. You and I talked about the quiz a little earlier.
Yeah, I like a quiz.
Yeah, the quiz is fun. And it talks about, the things you need to be a best-in-class law firm.
Yeah.
And it shows you where you're weak and where you're strong. And then it'll give you an estimate.
So exitontop.com.
Exitontopbook.com.
Exitontopbook.com. Okay.
Yeah.
And if they want to get up with you or talk about CFO or being a EOS coach?
Brooke, BROOKE at cathcap.com. CATHCAP.
All right. Good deal. Appreciate it so much, Brooke.
Thanks, Ken.
All right. Till next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.